Hello and welcome back to Needle Lace Made Easy. Michael Dennis here again. This is the last video in this series, and in this video we will concentrate on the top stitching and releasing the lace from the needle lace pad. All of the petals and the centre have now been filled. To give needle lace its characteristically raised edge, 2 threads are laid and buttonholed over on all lines of the design. This is known as top stitching. To do this, we need to lay 2 threads all the way around the design. Those threads are then closely buttonholed over. The buttonhole stitches need to lie side by side. We also need to take into consideration the design. By that I mean that this is a flower and some petals will be behind other petals, and we need to think about that when we're doing the top stitch. That will become clearer as we progress. So the first thing we're going to do is to lay the 2 threads around the inner circle. So you need to cut a length of thread the same length as you did for your original coordinate. Fold that piece of thread in half, and we use the loop to start this process as we did for the original coordinate, but we will not be coming through from the back of the pad. All the top stitching is done on the surface. I've also taken the needle lace out of the embroidery ring because it's almost impossible to do this in the embroidery ring, which holds the needle lace flat. I need to be able to bend the needle lace pad over my finger to get the needle through some of the tighter spaces. So take your needle lace pad and fold it over a finger. Don't crease it because that will stretch the stitches. You're then able to feed your needle through the original coordinate. Bring your needle and thread up through the filling stitches on the centre circle so that the thread comes out at point A, and through the loop of your padding thread, and pull the needle through. We're then going to whip these 2 threads around the centre circle. Use your thumb to help guide the needle under the coordinate, not into any of the filling stitches. Padding thread gets in the way, just move it to one side while you get your needle and thread under the coordinate, and bring your padding threads back on top. And just continue like that all the way around the circle till you get back to point A. I've now completed the centre circle and whipped the 2 padding threads all the way round to the original loop and fed the 2 padding threads through that original loop. Traditionally one would now whip these padding threads all the way round here, but you can, if you wish, begin buttonholing. You can hold the 2 padding threads with your thumb while you do your buttonhole stitches. So with your padding threads held with your thumb, make your padding stitches over the original coordinate. I have now top stitched around this edge. Note how close together these stitches are. They must lie side by side to get the right effect. That the knots of the loops all face towards the outside of the petal, and I've come to this junction here, and here we need to separate the two padding threads, take one under the whipped padding threads that we made around the centre and lay it back, and that gives our two padding threads then for this line along here. Then take the thread you were using for making your buttonhole stitches and lay that across the space and start buttonhole stitches then from the centre out towards this junction, and then work all the way round to here, and then we'll do the same thing, a junction from there to there. It won't matter that you've got 3 threads along this line. From this camera angle you may think that we worked the buttonhole stitches along the edge from this side. In fact, we worked from the other side so that the knots lie on the outside of the petal. I'm now buttonholed back along this line, picked up the thread left behind here, and are now continuing around here. You can clearly see that this petal now looks as though it's overlapping that petal, which is the effect we want. So continue now around this petal, do the same thing here as you did along this line, and the same here, and then continue around there and finish off just here. Top stitching is now almost complete around the outside edge. I've just got this little bit here to finish. I've cut my 2 padding threads off here as close to these couching stitches as I could. All I need to do now is complete the last few stitches. Try to get your last stitch so that it goes under the knots of this row of buttonhole stitches, so that it gives the illusion that these buttonhole stitches are overlapping these ones. So that now completes the couching around the outside edge. There is nowhere to run this thread through any couching stitches, as they are all now covered with buttonhole stitches. So we just leave this bit of thread and we'll sew it off at the back of the work when we've released it from the needle lace pad. The only area left to do now is this centre circle. It has been left to the last so that it gives the illusion that all the petals sit under the centre of the flower. So run your needle up through some of the stitches on the centre circle and then work a row of buttonhole stitches around the outside edge. Whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise is entirely up to you, but all the knots of the stitches must lie towards the outside of the circle. I have now completed buttonholing around the centre circle, and you'll see I have the buttonholing thread left over with no couching stitches to run it under. So we'll work that into the back of the lace once we've released it from the needle lace pad. So there is our completed flower pattern with all its top stitching. Clearly shows how the petals overlap each other. All that's left to do now is to release it from the needle lace pad. So to release your lace from your needle lace pad, turn it over and separate the bottom and the middle layers of your needle lace pad. And as you pull those two layers apart, you'll see the couching stitches. You may remember at the beginning of these videos I said I would use a red couching thread so that you could see them easily. You can clearly see now the couching stitches. So you need a pair of fine, good quality scissors to cut those threads. So just pull the two layers apart and cut every single couching thread that you see. You should not see any gold threads through this layer. So snip away at all these couching threads until they have all been cut. So here is the paper pattern after releasing it from the 3 layers of calico. So as you peel the paper pattern away, you release the lace. And there we have our finished piece of lace. All that remains now is to sew off those threads that we left from doing the top stitching. Where you have a piece of thread left from doing your top stitching around the centre circle, take that thread through to the back of the lace and feed your needle through some of the couching stitches on the back of the lace and just pull the thread through. And cut off the surplus. All that remains now is to carefully go round the back of the work and pull out all of the couching stitches. You'll need a fine pair of tweezers. I hope you've enjoyed making this design along with me, and I sincerely hope that you will go on to produce more beautiful designs in needle lace.